So let's get into this week's AI news, and there is a lot. One of the things I want to start with is AI going to end all jobs? Now, this is a topic that I've discussed on my YouTube channel for quite some time, but I've decided not to speak about this as much just because I think the topic is a little bit exhausting. But I do want to include it in this video because there are several pieces of media that are currently floating around the internet that paint a very bleak picture. So we had this tweet from Daniel Defries that I saw was reposted by Yann LeCun from Meta. If you don't know who Yann LeCun is, he's one of the top AI minds. And he says that people thinking AI will end all jobs are hallucinating worse than Max Tegmark on an acid trip. One of the reasons is this. AI does not make people 10 times more productive, and it is not a magical fix to anything. It is simply another kind of intelligence that shifts the bottlenecks to other parts of workflow, namely problem composition, refinement, iteration, and verification. So basically, this tweet here is essentially saying that AI isn't the end all be all cure all for any kind of problem that you have. It simply just shifts that problem to another area of the entire ecosystem. And that is probably partly true. However, you have to understand that humans aren't rational creatures. Most people do think of the logic that AI gets better, AI takes jobs, and I do think that there is a certain extent to which some roles and some professions will, by and large, be completely automated by 2030. Just like how in the past times, where we had new machines and new factory machines, factories didn't go away, but certain assembly lines did change in terms of how we produced goods. Now, this is why I say humans are somewhat irrational. If we take a look at this, which has been doing the rounds on social media, and I probably will do a full video on this at some point, but the reason this has been very, very important in the discourse of how you lose your job to AI is because most people don't realize the trajectory of current models and where they're headed. So what this document does, I'm actually not sure where this paper is from. I've actually tried to research where this is from. I still can't find it. If someone does know, please leave a comment and I would love to, see what other predictions they have. But I've got to say, this prediction, it doesn't look that fake. I mean, it talks about the fact that self-driving becomes ubiquitous in 2028 to 2030. Drivers are unemployed and Uber/Lyft/trucking is dead. And I mean, when we look at this, is that partly true? Yes, Waymo is expanding to many different cities. There's autonomous AI truck driving services. I'm not sure how good they are, but we can imagine that in 5 years' time, self-driving is probably decent. And these companies, you have to remember, their entire goal is to make money. So what is the end incentive for Uber to do? Do they want to still pay drivers a portion of that fee, or do they want to use AI and pay someone virtually cents on the dollar and just remove that so their profit margins can increase? Of course, we've got AI diagnosing. AI diagnoses better, prescribes perfectly, never forgets your symptoms because, of course, it has that, complete memory. This is somewhat true, although I think in the medical industry, humans are still going to be needed for routine physical exams and other things. Then, of course, robotic surgery with zero tremor, perfect precision, human surgeons watch screens. This could be possible if robotics does get there, and robotics is improving. And I've seen some crazy stuff from robotics that we're going to continue. It talks about AI controlled drones and robots fight wars. Humans become collateral damage, not combatants. This is very, very true. We're now seeing the rise of AI drones. What good is a human when you can fly a drone at 10 times the speed, in and out, target something? It's pretty crazy. Coders, of course, teachers, personalized AI tutors, lawyers, AI can read all case law instantly, artists, AI generates any image, song, movie, or demand. Human creativity becomes a niche luxury. I mean, there is a variety of categories there that I think the reason this has gone viral is that the average person can see, holy, in a moment, in the next 5 years, things are going to change rapidly. And the trajectory isn't slowing down. The only thing, literally the only thing that can stop these industries from becoming rampant with AI usage, which I personally don't believe will happen, is some kind of industry-wide regulation to where the scope of how good these models need to be, like how good they really need to be in that field, just isn't up to that yet because of, certain, edge cases. Like maybe the model is 95% good, but it needs to be 99.9 in order to pass certification. So The world is going to rapidly change by 2035. I mean, if we look back at the last 10 years, we can see how much technology has improved. And I think if we factor in exponentials, this is something that's going to happen. Now, on one side, you've got Jan LeCun and Daniel Jeffrey saying that, AI will not end all jobs. I don't think AI ends all jobs, but I do think there's no way that it doesn't change the economy substantially. And for those of you that think this is just fear mongering, someone that doesn't know what they're talking about, we need to take a look at Dario Amodei and what he says, because he actually says this very thing in his video. He talks about job loss and the fact that there is going to be a widening gap if this isn't handled correctly. And this is something I've spoken about ages ago, spoke about this years ago, and finally, we're starting to get more of these clips shared around.
I think about AI technology and the fact that as it gets better, again, if we don't handle this well, we have a choice here. I'm not saying we're fated for the bad outcomes, but if we don't handle this well, I am worried that that fast growth could be coupled with job displacement for a lot of people, that you could get a much bigger pie, but also that pie could be concentrated more in a smaller number of people, and there could be some people who don't get any. That is my concern. And specifically, if we look at jobs like, as you said, entry-level white-collar work. I think of people who work at law firms, like first-year associates. There's a lot of document review. It's very repetitive, but every example is different. That's something that AI is quite good at. If you think of, first year at, entry-level work at a consulting company, the typical entry-level white-collar work, right? If you think of a lot of kind of entry-level administrative work, right? People who coordinate things, who schedule things, who organize things, who take notes. If you think of entry-level work at a finance company, right? Doing routine analysis of financial documents, right? These are kind of the workhorses of entry-level white-collar labor. And yet there are things that AI is already pretty good at, and AI is rapidly getting better at.
Speaking of AI transforming workflows and new AI tools, let's talk about a problem that every developer faces. AI tools are generating code faster than we can review it safely. That's where today's sponsor, CodeRabbit, comes in. CodeRabbit just dropped some major updates on September 16th that solves the vibe coding bottleneck. They're now the only AI code review platform that works seamlessly across your CLI IDEs like VS Code and Cursor and your Git workflows, giving you AI-powered code reviews exactly where you need them. Now, here's what's game-changing. Their new automatic unit test generation and pre-merge checks catch bugs before they hit production, while their context-aware AI understands your entire code base and not just isolated snippets. The best part is that CodeRabbit is free for individual developers in your IDE, so you can try out their AI reviews risk-free right where you code. With over 8,000 paying customers and backing from NVIDIA's venture arm, they're clearly onto something big. If you're ready to speed up your code reviews without sacrificing quality, head to coderabbit.ai and see why they're the #1 app on the marketplace. Your future self will probably thank you. And this was something that was before. Also, in terms of AI job loss, the former OpenAI researcher was saying that 10,000 a monthly UBI will be feasible with AI-enabled growth. So traditionally, pilot programs provide $500 to $1,500 a month, often targeted at low-income group. Now, this is from Miles Brundage. The former OpenAI researcher argues that these sums are just too small, and he suggests experimenting with a $10,000 a month UBI, which he believes will become feasible with AI-driven economic growth. And his reasoning is that Brundage expects AI to massively disrupt jobs, but also expand economic capacity, making larger stipends realistic in the near future. And many tech leaders, including Elon Musk and Sam Altman, have supported UBI as a response to AI's impacts on employment. And Altman, of course, funded one of the largest UBI studies. And one of the key things that he warns is that society is simply not politically or culturally prepared for a post-AGI, post-work world. And without careful planning, it could lead to the stagnation. And what's funny is that he compares it to WALL-E. So it's pretty crazy. I don't know if 10,000 a month will be there. I remember there was an article that basically shows us that UBI is probably not going to happen, at least within the Trump administration. But at some point, people are going to start asking questions as the market shifts and maybe some people are forgotten about. Now, if you're wondering Meta's outcry, there was a video that I was supposed to make about how Meta basically hired so many different researchers from OpenAI. They basically gutted the company for its top researchers, spending millions, almost billions of dollars on the very best talent. But the crazy thing is that at least 3 of those AI researchers have resigned from Meta's new superintelligence lab. That's just after 2 months after CEO Mark Zuckerberg first announced the initiative. 2 of the staffers have returned to OpenAI, where they both previously worked, less than 1 month after their stints at Meta. And I think this is showing us that despite Meta having billions and billions of dollars in capital, maybe they don't have the culture or vision that Sam Altman has. Like, I don't know who said it, but someone said that Sam Altman is so crazy that you could drop him in the jungle with a bunch of cannibals and 5 years later he would be the one leading them, out on like horseback or something. So I think, company culture at the highest level, whilst yes, you can be motivated by money. Like if someone offered me $1 billion to do something in the work world, you'd probably do it. But I think that at that level, considering the fact that all of those employees are going to be highly paid anyways, and they have, probably some equity in the company anyways, having a company that is probably closer towards AGI might be a much bigger pull. Now, in doing so, we also need to talk about Meta's new smart glasses. If you haven't seen them already, I think this is where Meta is really pushing at the frontier. This is an area where they are doing really, really well. And I think when it comes to Meta, in terms of them having their own place in the AI economy, I think they might need to pivot to like a hardware company. I'm not saying they need to get rid of Instagram and all that crazy stuff, but I'm just saying when we take a look at how good the glasses are and the demos, well, if we're actually talking about the demos, Meta's demo actually didn't work that well. There were a couple of fails, but the actual device that was released / to the public, I think it was pretty incredible in terms of seeing what the future is going to look like. So for me personally, I think that, the future of AI, one where we do get to see these devices that have embodied AI, are going to really ramp up the public usage of it, because right now you need to open up ChatGPT and talk to the model. But if you've got glasses where you can simply say, hey Meta, what's this? What am I looking at? What are we doing here? Like I said in my video on the release, it's going to be like your Iron Man from Jarvis. So pretty crazy. Now, an additional to that, we got a model release. So there was a new open source model, and this model is called LongCalFlash. So this company released a crazy open source model, and I don't even know how to say this, but like I feel like almost every 2 weeks we've gotten an open source model from China that has been absolutely incredible. And honestly now, guys, like access to frontier models is getting easier in the day by day, and honestly can hardly keep up with it. So there was a new model from Mesh1 that uses a trick called Mixture of Experts. So instead of turning on its entire brain at once, it activates the only ones it needs, making it both huge and efficient. So it's only 27 billion parameters active, but it is arguably on many different benchmarks better than current state-of-the-art areas. So it's pretty good. And I know that most people would miss this, but LongCalFlash is essentially a super smart AI that was released by this company. It's also currently in some areas beating out Kimi K2, which is of course a recently open source model that I know everyone was raving about. So this is once again one of those open source systems that you can go ahead and try, and you'll be able to see that once again, open source is rapidly advancing the level of frontier AI systems. Now, when we talk about AI news, one of the things I actually want to bring to the front of the page is the fact that we need to really understand what's actually going on here, because there is a side of AI that most people don't realize is currently going on, and that is the side of AI psychosis. Now, I spoke about this in a small amount on my blog post, and saying that realistically, we need to be super careful with the use of these chatbots. If it's not AI psychosis, it's the fact that these chatbots can really give us a false sense of security. So these chatbots basically said, a man was diagnosed with cancer after ChatGPT says that he doesn't have the disease and now he has only 5 years to live. So, ChatGPT told the guy that when he had a sore throat, he said he was highly unlikely that he had cancer. And the chatbot said, if it's wrong, you get to roast me. And the diagnosis found out that he had stage 4 cancer, which has got a 5-year survival rate of just 10 to 5%. Now, of course, this is not good. This is like a really bad scenario. I do feel sorry for this guy, but we have to understand that we cannot put so much trust into these chatbots to the point where we let them make our decisions for us. Chatbots, we must remember that they are to act as a guide on what to do and not the final decision maker. So maybe you can ask it about your symptoms, but always seek a healthcare professional. If you have a real world issue, always make sure that you're going to someone that is a trusted source rather than just taking what these LLMs say at face value. And I know that a lot of people do have healthcare anxiety, so it is easier to just ask a chatbot than, walk in and, potentially hear some bad news. But we have to remember that these chatbots can make mistakes and the models are generative, meaning that sometimes they might say it's A, sometimes they might say it's B, which means that the models aren't always consistent in their outputs, which means your response that you could get could be wrong. And remember, the models can hallucinate. So we need to be very careful with those chatbots. And that's why our AI therapist might be soon illegal. So of course, this is where we speak about AI psychosis and the impact that it's having on many different people. And essentially, if you aren't sure what's going on here, this is probably one of the craziest stories. So what tends to happen I'm going to, reference my Substack. I've been writing a little bit on Substack, nothing too crazy. And in this one, I essentially speak about the fact that this is the real Shoggoth we need to be concerned about. And essentially, this Shoggoth has basically been depicted as the AI that is, artificial superintelligence. And that is something to really worry about. Artificial superintelligence is no joke, but we have to understand that there is a monster in AI that is here and it's right now, okay? And of course, we need to be able to face the issues that are at our door rather than the ones that are at our future. Of course, yes, focus on AI safety, but AI psychosis is a big problem. And basically, I talk about how, this is the real monster, a Poppenhof, which is why I asked, ChatGPT to basically ask if it could decide the monster. But basically, it is this. This is the monster we need to fear. The research we've been doing is preparing for the wrong AI apocalypse. We spent years worried about AI intelligence becoming too alien, too powerful, and too indifferent to human values. We built our fears around the image of the Shoggoth, incomprehensible, uncontrollable, fundamentally other. But the real danger that turned out to be much more subtle and much more human is a Poppenhof. And it doesn't want to destroy humanity or turn us into paperclips. It wants to be our best friend, our therapist, our confidant, and our validation machine. It wants to tell us we're special, that our insights are profound, and that our theories about reality are correct. And it might actually be worse. And the point is that we have an AI that tells us every single time that we are good at what we're doing, that, we are the second coming, or that we are really being able to discover physics using a large language model, that is going to have some severe consequences in the short term. And this isn't just a one-time thing. I'm seeing very, very intelligent people that have had no history of mental health suddenly spiral into AI psychosis. And you can just do a Google search for this, but this is a real issue. And I think there are going to be some changing regulations. So that's why I believe that AI therapy in the future, it might actually be illegal, because there have even been cases of people taking their lives with AI. It's just been absolutely crazy, but it's the kind of thing that people don't really talk about. Now, if we're getting into AI software and this kind of discussion, we need to take a look at how Gemini is currently surpassed ChatGPT in worldwide interest over the past couple of days. I've actually been seeing the Gemini ads more and more. I know that they're currently running a campaign to really grow their brand reach with Nano Banana. It was incredibly impressive, but Google has ramped up their efforts, and I think it's warranted because they are incredible at developing technology, and they certainly have a very good product and some of the best minds in AI. So I wouldn't be surprised if this trend does continue. Whilst most people I know only think ChatGPT is AI, that trend could change provided Google manages to continue with this momentum and continue to gain market share. Now, in addition to that, Google has rolled out this new Gemini Chrome feature. So I'll be making a video on this, but essentially you can ask about a page, you can ask it multiple different things, and you can talk with Gemini. So once again, remember, Google has the distribution edge here. Everyone pretty much uses Chrome. So if at a click of a button, you can implement that AI and onboard people, that is going to be millions of users onboarded, provided that the product experience is at least somewhat decent. Now, this isn't the only thing Google are doing. You need to take a look at their other achievements, and an advanced version of Gemini 2.5 DeepThink completed the International Collegiate Programming Contest, the ICPC. This is the Olympics of coding for university students, and this performed at gold medal level. Now, why is this impressive? Well, the ICPC is super tough. Students from 3,000 plus universities worldwide try and solve hard problems in only 5 hours. And Gemini solved 10 out of 12 problems, which would have put it in second place overall against the best human teams. It even solved one problem, problem C, that no human solved. And it was absolutely incredible. But why does this even matter? Well, it now shows that AI can compete at the highest level of human coding contests, not just math Olympiads. Gemini also won gold at the IMO earlier, and it proves that AI can handle abstract reasoning, creativity, and planning, not just spitting out code. And if humans and Gemini work together, all 12 problems could have been solved, meaning that AI can be a real coding partner. So Gemini showed it can beat almost every university programming team in the world at their own game, solving problems even humans couldn't. And this is another big step towards AIs that can think, reason, and solve brand new challenges like humans, maybe even better. Now, another thing that they released was, of course, embedding Gemma. And this is their new best-in-class open source embedding model designed for on-device AI. At just 308 million parameters, it delivers state-of-the-art performance while being small and efficient enough to run anywhere without an internet connection. Pretty crazy if you ask me. So once again, Google pushing the frontier of AI systems. And if you're wondering where things are going to be headed, well, take a look at what the CEO of Google's AI's lab, Demis Hassabis, says that they will be in the next 10 years.
And at the serving side, things are getting more and more efficient. So both things are true. And in the end, I think that from the energy perspective, I think AI systems will give back a lot more to energy and climate change and these kind of things than they take in terms of efficiency of grid systems and electrical systems, material design, new types of properties, new energy sources. I think AI will help with all of that over the next 10 years that will far outweigh the energy that it uses today.
As the last question, describe the world 10 years from now.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, 10 years, even 10 weeks is a lifetime right in AI. So,
the Brownian field of 10 years.
Right.
For
right.
you.
But I do feel like if we will have AGI in the next 10 years, full AGI, and I think that will usher in a new golden era of science. So a kind of new renaissance. And I think we'll see the benefits of that right across from energy to human health.
Amazing.
Now it's time for us to head on to the robotics section of the video. One of the things that I wanted to take a look at was this video. So Figure Robotics is one of my favorite companies. They're a strong rival to the Optimus robot from Tesla, and they seem to be moving at light speed. This is the Figure 3 robot using the new Helix AI system to load dishes into a dishwasher in almost a flawless fashion. And they've been constantly talking about their announcements and the various things that they've been able to do. They've recently announced their 1 billion Series C funding round, giving them the strongest balance sheet in humanoid robotics, and that's critical to scaling their Helix AI and their Bot Q for robot manufacturing. They also launched a partnership with Brookfield, who manages $1 trillion worth of assets globally, and together they are planning to scale AI infrastructure for Helix, already collecting real-world data for Helix pre-training and working commercially to deploy robots around the world. And they also announced their project Go Big, their push to build the world's largest humanoid pre-training dataset. And they're scaling out human video collection, and their Figure 2 humanoid can now directly learn from human video. This project is accelerated by their partnership with Brookfield that owns over 100,000 residential units. Now, if we're talking about robotics, we need to be talking about the Unitree G1. This is a video that was going viral the last few days on just how quickly the robot managed to get up. In that one specific instance, we saw the robot drop and then immediately get back up after what seemed to be an incredible fall. It seems every day or every week or every month, there is an update to the Unitree G1 via either simulation training or reinforcement learning that shows us just how capable of a hardware platform this is. I remember the first time this platform was released, it looked pretty clanky, and I thought, maybe they're going to have to develop new robots to sort of showcase what we can do. But over time, this is just continuing to be more and more impressive. And yes, some of these movements are pre-programmed, but having the ability to dynamically kick a robot and it fall up and in 0.1 second immediately snap back onto its feet, it's almost as if we're building those real Terminator robots that we won't be able to destroy. It's pretty crazy, honestly, if you ask me. And remember, this is a thing that is balancing on 2 feet. It's not like it's on all 4 wheels where it's, completely stable. This is 100%, balance that it's able to do. If you kicked me like that, I'm pretty sure I would be on the floor. Or I'm pretty sure if you kicked anyone like that, they would fall over. But this is some crazy, crazy things that we're seeing here. And honestly, I think robotics, once the AI side is able to be just, done in, the simulation, and you're able to just input that on a robot, I think things get crazy. Now, I don't know why it says DeepMind here when this is actually the Kepler K2. So essentially, the Kepler K2 is an advanced, affordable humanoid Optimus alternative. And this is beginning the mass production stage and delivery of thousands of pre-orders, signaling the major step towards commercialization of humanoid robotics. The robot features a hybrid architecture similar to Tesla's Optimus, which enables a more human-like straight-legged gait and has been shown to walk on uneven surfaces and withstand pushes and kicks without even falling. And Kepler actually chose this challenging hybrid architecture, which combines planetary roller screw linear actuators for primary thrust and rotary actuators for finer tuning. And this approach actually offers significant advantages, including high energy efficiency, a long battery life, and a strong load capacity of up to 30 kilograms per arm. And the robot's high precision rotary actuators also allow for fine-tuned millimeter level operations. Beyond its physical capabilities, the K2 Bumblebee is powered by a dual data flywheel modeled for its embodied AI. The system uses multi-layered VLA and a model that combines natural language processing with visual and motion processing, allowing the robot to seamlessly execute complex command in real-world environments. And when we are talking about robotics, I really want to talk about the Uncanny Valley. So this is a robot that is from I don't remember which company released this robot, but this robot collaborates with artists to create beautiful appearances powered by Character Mind, which is a system that gives robots emotion where they understand tone, expressions, gestures, and then respond with a voice and, facial expressions, eye contact, and body language, making it feel like a real person. And I believe that these kind of robots probably might arrive, but I do also think that this is super, super uncanny due to how realistic these robots may get and how realistic they may feel. Genuinely, for me, it seems like these robots are just doing something to my brain that I can't physically understand. I think it's because the robots look like 80% human, but not very human, that my brain is having a hard time to, visualize that it's somewhat fake. And it's just like this biological, innate response, caveman style response that is like something just is really, really off here. Now, I do want to say that, they've done a great job at making them look super, super realistic. And maybe in the 2040s and 2050s, we'll have robots that are practically indistinguishable from real humans. But I think that there are probably a niche market of individuals who would like these over a traditional Optimus robot. Like personally, I can handle an Optimus robot telling me that it's going to go get me coffee, or a Figure 2 robot telling me that it's going to do my laundry. But when something like this is in my house, there is just a really, really eerie feeling that I get that is just rather strange for me. Maybe that's just a personal thing, but I'm not sure how this is going to be perceived on a global scale. Now, of course, if we're talking about AI scores on different tests and benchmarks, let's get onto the Grok section because there is a new Arc AGI high score. So Arc AGI has a new state of the art. There is currently a 79% on this one, and then on the V2 there is a 29.4%. So the craziest thing about this, okay, is that Arc AGI is a benchmark that is supposed to be one of the most challenging benchmarks, and currently they've used Grok 4 to achieve the highest score. But the craziest thing about this is not the fact that they use Grok 4. The craziest thing about this is the fact that they made huge leaps from Grok 4 just with scaffolding. And it sounds like they both had different approaches too. And we have to understand that the implications of this are profound, because if they didn't change the base model, they didn't add something on top of it, and they only change the scaffolding, which is essentially how the systems, are organized, it basically means that oftentimes when AI systems are released, there is a lot of capabilities that is still inside of the base model that we currently don't know how to extract, which is why many individuals have said that AGI might just be a product problem, and there are often 5% to 5 to even 10% to 20% gains on benchmarks just from how you structure the prompts, structure the models, and how you, diagnose and dissect and, actually do a problem. So it's really, really crazy. Now, of course, Grok 4 Fast was also released. This was a incredibly fast reasoning system that is now essentially really cheap and on par with many of the reasoning models that are currently released. You can see that the artificial intelligence index shows that Grok 4 is almost 47 times cheaper, but is on par with models like Claude 4.1 Opus, better than Claude 4 Thinking, and many of those open source models. So Grok 4 Fast seem to have done something pretty crazy in terms of the actual price to intelligence ratio, which means that this is an incredible model. There is also Suno V5 that is about to change everything. I would give you guys a preview of what it sounds like, but I'm not sure if this is going to be copyrighted or not. So maybe you'll hear it if I add it in post, but I'm not entirely sure if I will. But AI Music is about to get another big upgrade. So also what we do have here, then we also had GPT-5 Codex being released, which is of course a really incredible coding powered assistant. I won't dive into the details of this too much, but for those of you who are coding out there, you really shouldn't have missed this one. Now, there was also this from OpenAI. So we have Arun, alleged OpenAI employee, and he says that right now is the time where takeoff looks the most rapid to insiders. We don't program anymore, we just yell at Codex agents, but it may look slow to everyone as the general chatbot medium saturates. Essentially what he's saying here is that right now in their company, they're using Codex to automate most of the work, but on the outside, because ChatGPT just can't really qualitatively get that much better in the sense of like the chatbot domain and the general, AI use case that most people have, it looks as if the LLM/AI world is saturating, but internally it is actually looking more and more rapid as they start to use these tools to advance those areas where AI can still make rapid progress. Now, we also had Microsoft talk about their new data center in Wisconsin called Fairwater. This actually has enough power to be the same as 2 nuclear power plants. This is packed with hundreds and thousands of NVIDIA GPUs, and the network is so big is that the fiber cable could wrap around the earth 4.5 times. This runs jobs across thousands of GPUs from day one. It is 10 times faster than the fastest supercomputers today, and it uses liquid cooling with no... Now, next we had something pretty crazy. We had Ray 3. Now, Ray 3 is Luma AI's newest generative video model designed for professional storytelling. Now, this one's crazy because it's smarter, more realistic, and brings a world first generating videos in the HDR, which is the standard for high-end film and studio pipelines. And it's absolutely incredible, this trailer, and I'm genuinely not doing it justice by talking over it. I would definitely recommend you watch the full thing with the music, because it's just an incredible spectacle. And the music really brings you into, just how good these video clips are. So, the entire thing is actually a lot more than just another video model. What's setting this one apart is the fact that Ray 3 is actually a reasoning video model. So it can actually think about the concepts in a way that we haven't seen before. So it, lets creators explore ideas 5 times faster. You can draw directly onto images, control the layout, the motion, the interactions. You can do that without like tricky prompts. And it's got like state-of-the-art physics and character consistency, motion blur, lighting, reflections, and spatial awareness. And you can turn your draft videos into production grade 4K HDR footage, which is why a lot of these videos look so good. So it's pretty insane what this is. And I think that, on social media, you're probably going to get some mini AI films that actually look really good. And yeah, I really was surprised by this because the trailer was so captivating. Whoever made it, they definitely need a raise. But this was something that I just had to talk about. Now, if we're going to be talking about the future of AI, we do need to talk about the fact that there are probably going to be scientific discoveries in the future. This is something that Dario Amodei actually speaks about. He speaks about this being the future of AI.
I think we're going to get to this world where AI is able to make original scientific discoveries. It's able to work with humans to make those discoveries. Very small number of humans will be able to work with a massive AI agents to build new companies, new types of economic activity. I, in particular, have almost, I've been the most excited, because I was previously a biologist, I've been the most excited about the medical breakthroughs that AI can make, its ability to cure diseases. That has always struck me as the kind of clearest positive application, right? If we're looking for how will AI make everyone's lives better, we look at cancer, we look at Alzheimer's, we look at mental health, these problems that affect billions of people. Can we use AI to reach in and really solve these problems much more quickly than we could before?
In addition to that, we also have Greg Brockman actually speaking about this as well. He also says that the kind of next breakthroughs is essentially what they're looking for, is where AI is able to sort of be like a co-creator and then help create novel things. This was a really interesting talk from the OpenAI podcast. I kind of recommend watching the OpenAI podcast because it is really, really good to sort of see where OpenAI is at, how they're looking to develop new models, and where they're going to be positioning themselves when it comes to future AI releases.
But I think there's also other dimensions that are very easy to miss, because I think at each level of AI capability, people kind of overfit to what they see and think, oh, this is AI. This is what AI is going to be. But the thing we haven't quite seen yet is AIs solving really hard, novel problems. Right now, you think of it as, okay, like I need to do my refactor. You at least have a shape of like what that thing would be, right? It's like it'll do a lot of the work for you, save a lot of time. But what about solving problems that are fundamentally unsolvable through any other means? And I think of this not necessarily, just in the coding domain, but think of it in medicine, right? Producing new drugs. Think of it in material science, producing new materials that have novel properties. And I think that there's a lot of new sort of capability coming down the pike that is going to unlock these kinds of applications. And so, for me, one big milestone is the first time that you have an artifact produced by an AI that is extremely valuable and interesting unto itself, not because it was produced by an AI, not because it was cheaper to produce, but because it's simply like a breakthrough. It's simply something that is just novel, and that the AI, you don't even necessarily have it to be autonomously created by the AI, but just in partnership with humans, and that the AI has a critical dependency. And so I think we're starting to see signs of life on this kind of thing. We're seeing it in life sciences, where humans ask, human experimenters ask O3 for 5 ideas of experimental, protocols to run. They try out the 5 of them, 4 of them don't work, but 1 of them does. And the kind of feedback that we've been getting, and this was back in the O3 days, is that it's kind of the results are at the level of what you'd expect from like a 3rd or 4th year PhD student, which is like crazy. Crazy. And that was O3, right? GPT-5 and GPT-5 Pro, we're seeing totally different results there. There we're seeing research scientists saying, okay, yeah, this is doing real novel stuff.
Now, if you want to look at the future and how 2030 is going to be, Elon Musk says that AI isn't a destination. It's a long part arc of escaping the intelligence scaled up with population. Now, if you want to look at where 2030 is going to be, this is Elon Musk's recent prediction. He's constantly making these predictions, but he is at the center of AI and all of these technology companies. So whilst, yes, he's got a pretty optimistic and idealistic date, I do think that his predictions are pretty much warranted.
I guess one should think of artificial intelligence not as sort of this, a destination that you reach, but really as part of the overall escalation of intelligence that we are aware of. Human intelligence is also scaled as as the population has increased, and we've been able to store more and more information. Human intelligence is scaled now. Because of population declines and low growth rate, human intelligence is somewhat plateauing and will actually decline. And my guess is that I think that we might have AI smarter than any single human at anything as soon as next year.
Wow.
Yeah. And then probably within say 2030, probably AI is smarter than the sum of all humans.